Hey guys, it is NCS Fan 001 here for another one of those weekly trophy list updates. Today's date is Monday, August 21st, 2023. So this will have covered the week of August the 14th through the 20th of 2023. This was definitely a successful week overall because, well, for one, I actually got another trophy guide published on PSN Profiles. It was my Fallout 3 sort of full-blown start to finish DLC walkthrough because they only allow one guide per individual DLC on the website nowadays, so that was the only really way I could do it. So got that out, but most importantly, I grabbed a couple of easy platinums, but we have a huge 100% completion right here. Yes, Tom Clancy's The Division 2 has officially been 100% completed. If you're wondering why it's still on my XMB, it's because I'm working on a couple of guides for it, and if I need to jump back in and do a little bit more work and check a couple of things, it's there for that reason, so I don't have to reinstall it. But anyway, The Division 2 was an overall pretty enjoyable 100% and platinum, but it is a very time-consuming one. It took me around 75 to 80 hours. I think it took me a little bit over 80 hours to get the 100%, though I wasn't necessarily going for trophies every second of that 80 plus hours. So for the platinum, you're going to get a number of trophies simply by completing the main story of the game. Everything through here is a story-related trophy that you're going to get just by beating the main game. Then after that, you have to go back and finish all the missions on hard difficulty or above, but hard difficulty really isn't that hard. Hard difficulty is basically the game's medium difficulty because you have story difficulty that you can play most everything in the game on. That's like easy mode. Then you have normal difficulty, which is a slight step up from that. Then you have hard difficulty, which is basically this game's medium difficulty. Then you have challenging difficulty, which is the next step up where the game actually starts to get quite a bit more challenging, hence the name. And then there is heroic difficulty above that, which is the game's really hard mode, or harder mode. And then finally there's legendary difficulty for a handful of missions that's the super hard mode that's really, really brutally hard. I didn't even try anything on legendary. I did something on heroic in a group, but that was about it. So basically completing the game on hard is really not all that hard. It just takes some time because you have to replay all the missions, and there's 15-ish of them. I think it's about 15. So you have to fully upgrade all settlements, which just requires you to complete some projects for each of the 2 settlements in the main area of the game. This one took a while to get. It requires you to find a tank, usually on the easiest difficulty, and try to snipe off or just knock off all of its pieces of armor. There's one on each arm, one on each leg, one on the chest, and one on the head. So you pretty much have to knock out all of that armor, and then you have to finish off the tank. You have to be very careful with this because it's very easy to accidentally kill the tank or have the tank accidentally kill itself if it has a grenade launcher or something. Discover 20 control points. This one's super easy. There's well over 20 in DC. Just take them and you'll be fine. Just take anything that you come across. They're good for fast travel anyway. Here's our first true multiplayer trophy in the game. You have to have at least one partner in your group, and with that partner, you have to take over a control point without either of you being downed. It's very, very easy, but it is an online trophy that requires an actual other player with you. Because the entire game is online only, you have to be connected to the internet to play it, but there's only a handful of trophies that actually require other players. Then you have to respond to a call for help and end up reviving the agent that you went to go help. So for this one's a little bit trickier. You have to have someone else summon you, like call for backup, which is actually this trophy right here that you can get very easily by just putting out a call for backup, no matter if people actually come in and help you. But for this one, you have to respond to a call for help. Just wait till someone calls in assistance, and then you have to revive them while you're in the group with them. You don't have to revive them immediately there if you don't want to, just as long as you revive them while you're in the group after they invited you. Then you have to collect a suit of cards. This one's kind of annoying because there's 4 different suits and there's 13 cards per suit, but you can only get 1 card about every half hour by killing certain named elite enemies. There's an easy way to farm it, but even so, since you can only get about 1 every half hour, this trophy itself can take many, many hours, so start knocking it out as early as you can to cut down on the grinding time. Then this one is basically unmissable. It's probably going to be the first trophy a lot of people get. This one is pretty much unmissable as well, just you'll get it just by fighting random enemies throughout the game. This one's basically unmissable by the time you finish the main story because you're going to get plenty of commendations just along the way. Then this one, you just have to wait till you find some friendlies roaming around and give them resources. That's all you have to do, it's that simple. This one is very simple, just enter any dark zone and access any safe house within one, nothing difficult there. Then we have another kind of annoying multiplayer trophy. You have to extract an item from each of the 3 dark zones. This one's not too hard, but people in the dark zone can be really douchey and really annoying to deal with because it's PvPvE in there. So just be a little bit careful with this one. Try to play when it's going to be, less populated servers at some given time. And you probably want to do these in a group just because it'll give you people to defend one another with. Eliminating a rogue agent in each dark zone is another kind of annoying trophy because first the agent has to go rogue, and then you have to go eliminate them, and when they're in big groups roaming around, it can be kind of difficult to deal with. So it's best to boost, but it's not even all that easy to boost unless you're both a very similar gear level and just level in general. Then you have to win a match of Skirmish or Domination, which is basically the straight-up PvP modes in the game, and you just have to win a single match. So if you just matchmake, and you can't necessarily AFK, but you don't have to do too much, and eventually you'll be in a winning group. Then for this one, you just have to form a clan or be a part of a clan, and then play Skirmish or Domination until this trophy unlocks by fighting off against another clan. It doesn't have to be like full teams or anything. Complete a bounty from each safe house. There's about 12 of these, I think, in the game, so just complete each of the bounties and you'll be good to go. I do remember seeing that this trophy is supposedly missable once you go to DC, or no, once you go to New York in the Warlords of New York DLC, but I'm not sure exactly how that works. Then this one is once you beat the main story, you can get the different signature weapons by just starting out each specialization, get 1 kill with each, and you're good to go here. Then for this one, this is the same crossbow that it was mentioning right here. So just take the crossbow and shoot 10 enemies in the leg with the crossbow. It doesn't obviously have to be the same enemy 10 times or in the same session or anything like that. Reach level 30 is unmissable while going for the Platinum Trophy. Create or join a clan is simple enough. You can just create one. That's the faster way to do it. This one's kind of annoying because you do have to actually be grouped up with people, but you could very easily do this in the raid, I'm sure. I mean, I didn't actually do it in the raid, but I didn't even think about the fact you could probably do it there. So that's probably the best place to do it, but I did it while attacking a control point after responding to a call for help. Collect 20 blueprints. This one's unmissable. Craft an exotic weapon or an item. You don't actually have to craft the weapon. You just have to like retool one that you already have. Also works. Then equip a specialization. This is after you beat the main story. This one you have to fully upgrade a specialization, which does take a while, but you should get enough points probably by the time you finish all of your missions on hard. This trophy we already talked about fully upgrading both the settlements, just finish projects for them. This one you have to equip and use each of the 8 skills in the game. That's pretty self-explanatory. You just have to have enough SHD tech to get all of them. Then this one is the gold tier gear or better, so either gold, red, or green I think counts for this in all of your slots. And then finally you have to hijack an extraction in an occupied dark zone. This one's really annoying because you have to go into an actual occupied dark zone, which is the hardcore dark zone of the day or the week. And you have to go into it, you have to find someone out there that's trying to extract, and you have to steal their extraction, which leaves you extremely vulnerable. So this one basically has to be boosted unless you're in like a big group of people just roaming around, screwing over the single or duo players out there. So overall, the Platinum Trophy isn't too hard, but you are going to have to boost some of that Dark Zone stuff, most likely, unless you're really good at it. So now we have all the DLCs to talk about. First off, Operation Dark Hours. This is the first of the 2 raids. This one is not particularly hard. It's not particularly long either. It's 4 boss fights, but their gimmicks, except for the last one, are all pretty simple. Like the first boss you fight, you can only damage him once you shoot his like shield generator on his back with the miniguns, and then you can actually damage him for like 2 armor points, and then you can just keep repeating that process. Second boss, you just have to switch the gases around in the, like, hangar area, or if you kill him quickly enough, you don't even have to worry about that. The third one, same thing. If you kill it quickly enough, it's the 2 Warhounds. Just kill them really quickly and you'll get the trophy that way. If not, you have to be a little bit more careful, but if you have a high-level group with high DPS, you're not going to have any issues. The final boss is a little bit more complicated. It has a few more mechanics, and I think it has a wipe mechanic, so you have to be a little bit more careful with him. But the nice thing for this trophy, and for the other raid trophy, is you can join into the raid through matchmaking, and if you do it matchmaking through the discovery difficulty, and if you end up in a full 8-player group when the raid ends, the trophy will unlock. You don't even have to finish the entire raid. You only have to finish the final battle of it in an 8-player group. So that's really, really nice. That makes it a lot easier. I got this with the first group I was with, though we did the entire raid. So we started from the beginning, but no one left, and we were able to get it without too many problems. Then DC Outskirts is the first of the 3 just extra story DLCs. Just complete these 2 story missions and you're good to go. This DLC takes about 2 hours. It's probably the hardest of the 3 just because of the missions being like... The Manning National Zoo is an actual stronghold, so it's a little bit tougher. Camp White Oak isn't too bad. The Pentagon is 2 story missions and a side mission. Just complete all of them and you'll get both these trophies. Those missions are a little bit long, but they're not too terribly bad. And then Coney Island's probably the easiest of the 3. This one can be done in about an hour without any major problems. So yeah, that's really about all it is. Those are just extra story DLCs, extra story missions. Then we have Warlords of New York, which is the most time-consuming of the 6 DLCs. You have 5 and actually 6 trophies here that are all story-related and unmissable. So nothing to worry about with any of those. You'll get those just by beating the main story, which will take 5 to 10 hours probably to get through all the missions. Then you have to go back and replay any story mission in New York with at least 1 directive active. You can choose any directive you want. It doesn't matter. Some of them are probably a little easier than others. And this one's, of course, going to be easier in a group, but I was able to do it solo with no problems. Just select one of the easier story missions. Definitely don't select the final battle against Keener because it's actually kind of challenging, especially playing solo even on story difficulty. Come back to this one in a second. Shut 2 corridors while uncovered. This one's going to unlock just by playing through the game naturally. It's basically unmissable. And then this one is basically unmissable while doing the manhunt, so level 40 isn't really a problem. The manhunt isn't all that hard. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Basically, you go back to Washington, D.C., and you have 4 different lieutenants you have to... Well, not necessarily lieutenants, but you have 4 different people you have to rescue for the castle. At least that's what the current season is. So to rescue them, you have to complete 5 missions for each of them, and they become available like every 2 weeks to help a new one. And the seasons only last for 3 months, so you are a little bit time limited on this trophy. So you basically just have to go save 2 control points and take out 2 hard difficulty bounties, and then you're able to take out the challenge difficulty bounty at the end, which I highly recommend doing in a group because, again, challenging difficulties where things start to become harder. And then once all that's done, once you've taken out the 4 previous characters, you'll be able to go after the main final boss or the main final target for the manhunt. And you just have to make sure you select challenging difficulty for that. I would definitely recommend doing that one in a group as well because it's going to make life much easier even with just one other person. This season manhunt takes you back to the Manning National Zoo, so that's kind of a long mission, but it wasn't too bad just with one other partner. I mean, I got through it without too many problems. He wasn't really the best partner, but it was fine. We still got through it. And then finally, there's Operation Iron Horse. This one, I still legitimately have no idea what was going on during this raid because I didn't really watch that much going into it. But I was able to join into a raid in progress that was already on the 3rd boss in the Foundry. So we only had to deal with that boss, which was easy enough. I don't exactly know what happened, but they beat it very easily. And then there's the final boss in the train yard where, again, I have literally no idea what was happening during that boss fight. I think you have to, like, shoot out the giant armored train several times with a giant anti-air gun or an anti-everything gun. And then the actual boss, the super named elite, spawns or something. I don't really know. But I got through it on first try with the first group I joined. No one left during the final battle, despite the fact that like 3 of us were down and weren't getting revived. It didn't matter. We completed the raid on discovery difficulty and got the trophy. And that's it. That's everything to say about Division 2. I guess that's the end of the drinking game for the Division, because that's the last time I need to talk about the game, with the exception of the Platinum 701 through 800 video whenever that happens, because I'll have to talk about Division 2 again during that video. But other than that, that's really it for if you were one of the people out there doing a Division drinking game for any reason. I hope that you weren't, because you'd probably be dead by now, especially if you watched a lot of these back-to-back. But regardless, that's it. Division 2's done. Division 1's done. There is Division Heartland coming out probably early next year, but I don't think I'm going to play that one because it doesn't look like it's going to play quite the same. And, I mean, I'm just obviously fearing that they might put in a survival mode again. The next game I played this week was Late Shift. This is an FMV title. It is a pretty solid, pretty fun game, but it does get a little bit repetitive. Basically, what you can do is, once you obtain the trophy for an ending, you can pause the game and quit to the main menu, and then hit resume, and it'll put you back at the start of the chapter. So that allows you to get all 7 endings pretty quickly without having to play through the game 7 different times, because that would be a miserable experience having to do the exact same thing basically 7 times, because for the most part, your decisions are really only going to be important in the final few chapters, which is kind of dumb. At least for the ending trophies, you can pretty much determine them all from the last couple chapters. There are some miscellaneous trophies that require other things. So these first 7 trophies are all different endings, and then all of your other trophies are just random miscellaneous trophies for making specific decisions throughout the course of your playthrough. I don't remember what most of them were, like, I don't remember what these 2 exactly were. This one is for endings again. This one is for letting the girl drive up the bid twice when you're in the auction house. I think this one you have to, like, go take the elevator and try to get away from the people in the auction house. Then this one is if you manage to make the girl like you, which requires certain choices. This one, there's like a street brawl you'll get into when you have to just choose not to fight a couple of times. Find all the chapters. There's 14 different chapters, and if you just follow a guide like the one on PlayStationTrophies.org, you won't have any problem obtaining the Platinum Trophy, and then you just have other various specific choices that you have to make throughout the game. So overall, there's nothing particularly difficult about this Platinum. It can be done in about 3 hours with a good guide. And yeah, that's really all there is to say about it. This game, it was free because I bought the PS4 version a long time ago and platinumed it a long time ago. It's a pretty good game overall, but it does, like I said, get a little bit repetitive toward the end. Then the next game I played, this was played on Friday night. Basically, it was due to some votes in previous streams, and people wanted to see, or when I was letting people vote on different kids' games. This one got tied in votes for My Little Pony a few weeks ago, but My Little Pony won the coin toss. And this game was not very good. It is BB and Tina Adventures with Horses, the North American PS4 version. Actually, there's no PS5 version. It's just like a North American and a European version. So this is a horse racing game, and it's really bad, as you might expect. For the Platinum Trophy, you have to basically complete the story, which is pretty much every trophy through this first gold trophy is a story-related trophy that is unmissable just by beating the game. There's 18 or 19 story missions, so you can get through them in like an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. For the most part, they're pretty easy, but there are probably a few that'll take multiple tries just because sometimes the horse just really does not control well, or sometimes you might just make a wrong turn somewhere and end up falling behind and lose out on stamina. The actual races against other competitors are usually really easy, and the point A to point B races, fastest way possible, those ones are pretty easy once you know where the other point is you have to get to, but some of the checkpoint races can be a little bit tight on time with the limited stamina. Then you have to complete the final race. For some stupid reason, you have to win the final race 10 times. The final race gives you a randomized maze through like a cornfield, and it's really dumb because your horse doesn't control well. Sometimes the enemy AI will just phase through the corn, so they just take leads out of nowhere. And even if you're like actually good at the game, you will probably get screwed over sometimes just by the horse running into something and stopping, or the stamina just running out without getting a lot of speed. Or sometimes you just get really bad layouts, and sometimes you will get layouts that allow you to win in like 35 to 40 seconds. Sometimes it'll take a minute and a half to win, which is just really dumb. It's a lot of randomness there, and it just doesn't play very well. So yeah, none of this is particularly hard, but some of it is just at least a little bit annoying for what it is, for what it should be. Then you have 3 mini games you have to complete during the free roam portion of the game, the free roam option on the menu. You have to do the horse grooming, you have to clean the hooves, and you have to feed it. All the mini games are pretty easy, just be careful that you don't like screw up on them, so just pay attention for the 30 seconds to a minute or however long each one of these lasts so you don't screw up. Then you have to complete 6 different missions in under a minute each. I actually don't know if it's 6 different missions or if you can do the same mission 6 times. But there's like 4 missions that are the checkpoint A to checkpoint B only races, and those all last less than a minute, so you'll get at least 4, I think, just by beating the story. And then some of the layouts you get on the final level will be for under a minute, and then there's a couple other levels you can do for this one. Then you have to ride out with each of the 2 characters, BB and Tina, 10 times, which is easy, just takes a little while, and it's completely pointless as trophies. And finally, you have to find all the collectibles in the game, of which there are 96. There are 48 on each of the 2 maps, and they're not overly hard to find because there's a guide on PlayStation Trophies and there's probably a video guide out there. It's just really boring. Like, the collectibles alone take a good hour, so they take up almost half your playtime. I mean, again, the Platinum Trophy isn't hard, it's just really boring, it doesn't play well. I probably would not recommend this one, even though it is pretty easy overall. It's not a very fun time unless you're doing what I did and streaming it in front of a bunch of people and being able to enjoy it a little bit more that way. And finally, we have Killzone Liberation, the PS4 version. This is the last Killzone game that I have to do on my list. Yes, I know I never finished Killzone 3 multiplayer. I never got the chance to start it because the servers were closing a few weeks before, or a few weeks after could have started it potentially, but that's a whole nother story for another day. Killzone Liberation is the shortest Killzone Platinum and probably the easiest one overall because it's a PlayStation Classics game, which means that you can pause the game and rewind time pretty much whenever you want. You can also make saves whenever you want. So that makes the Platinum Trophy very, very easy by Killzone standards. That being said, though, being a Killzone game and being what was effectively a PSP title that's a top-down shooter, but it's not a twin-stick shooter, it doesn't play that well, and it has not aged particularly well. The graphics are pretty good for handheld from like 2006, but otherwise the game has not aged well, and it definitely shows when you're playing it. So to get the Platinum Trophy, you have to complete the main story, which is going to net you 16 of your 35 total trophies, so almost half the list is just from beating the story, which is pretty nice. The missions are generally pretty short. A few of them are only about 5 minutes long, but most of them are 10 to 15 minutes, or maybe even just a little bit longer than that. So currently, as of the end of the stream on Saturday, I'm through mission 3.2. There is a chapter 5 to this, but you don't actually have to do it for any trophies. It was originally DLC, and it's surprisingly not reflected at all in this list, which again, I find that to be quite surprising. Then you have to complete challenge games. So in the challenge games, you get either a bronze, silver, or gold medal if you complete them in time. And you have to get a bronze medal on 24 of them. If Chapter 5 has challenge games, then there's 30 total. Otherwise, there's only 24 total. And getting a bronze medal in all of them is really not that much of a problem. But you also have to get a gold medal in 10 of them. I have 9 gold medals currently, so I only need 1 more, and I haven't even started on the Chapter 3 challenges yet, or the Chapter 4 challenges. So for the most part, getting gold medals isn't too difficult, but some missions I just don't see how it's even possible to get a gold medal on. Just a few specific ones just don't seem possible, like the C4 planting missions, because you have to kill enemies and plant C4, which takes forever. Equipping a weapon with different abilities, I'm not entirely sure what to do for this one. I think that I have to use the points that I get from challenges to be able to do this. Collecting Vectin money, each mission has briefcases in it you can collect that give you 1,000 Vectin dollars, and most missions have anywhere from like 5 to 8 of these briefcases. So you have to collect at least 44 of them for this trophy, but there's probably like 100 in the game, including Chapter 5, so there's more than enough for this trophy. You have to kill a Helghast soldier with a missile launcher. This one's probably going to come naturally during one of the missions where you get it, maybe even during some of the challenge games. Killing one with an M3 revolver. It's not a super common weapon, but it is relatively powerful. Then run them over with either the tank or the boat. This one's easy enough. I would suggest doing it during the first mission where you get a tank, which is like Chapter 1.2 or 1.3. You have to kill an enemy with a melee attack. This one's very easy. This one's pretty much going to come naturally because you might need it sometimes because the reloads are so slow and you don't always have a whole lot of ammo. Because that is a big thing with this game, is that sometimes you get into bad situations where you really don't have a lot of ammo or any nearby healing items, so it can be kind of tough to get out of some of the situations against larger numbers of enemies. You have to kill one with a spider mine. This one is probably going to come naturally because the spider mines just seek out whatever's closest to them at any given time, which can include enemies, and the enemies don't try to get away from them. So you'll probably get this one naturally. Destroy an enemy tank while on foot. You'll have a few different opportunities for this. I've seen like maybe 2 different opportunities so far for this one, but it's fairly easy. Then this one, I'm not sure if this one's actually even missable. 19.9%. Yeah, so that trophy actually is unmissable. You're going to get that one naturally during Chapter 1.2. Because you have to revive Rico, I think it is, at the very beginning of the mission, or else you apparently can't progress. That's what people told me in the chat. Maybe that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they were correct. You have to defeat 10 enemies with frag grenades. This is pretty much unmissable because frag grenades are pretty strong in the game, and there's more than enough opportunities to get kills with them. 50 kills with a vehicle. This one might have to be farmed at the end. I don't know how many more vehicle missions there are. And then defeat 100 enemies while on foot. This one's unmissable while beating the story. So the game is fairly easy overall, but it is a Killzone game, so don't be fooled. It's not going to be the easiest PS Classics game out there. But so far, we're 3.5 hours into the game, 55% of the trophies. There are 6 story chapters and I think 12 challenges left, so 12 more bronze medals and 1 gold medal, and 6 more actual story chapters, and possibly a little bit of cleanup, and then we're done. So it'll only be one more stream, most likely, to finish the PS4 version. Then I'll go off to the PS5 version, because this is the next sort of video series of streams that I'm doing, even though it's not going to be the next one that goes up, and I'll talk about that once the trophies sync up here. So, level 836, 27%, 26,439 total trophies, 737 platinums, 4,824 golds, 7,052 silvers, 13,826 bronzes. So, plans for the upcoming week. Well, now that Division 2 is done, it's kind of weird because that was the last big, old multiplayer game for me to go back to, and it's done now, so I'm just like, what am I supposed to do now? I'm so confused. I'm so conflicted. I don't know what to do now. The main focus this week is going to be Killzone Liberation, though, with streams, and I might be able to get both versions done by the end of this week, depending on how many times I stream. But in all honesty, we will have to see, because I think I mentioned this last time, but I've been finally starting to do some stuff with my health in the past few months. I've been trying to change around my meds for depression and anxiety because they kind of stopped working. So doctor has put me on some different meds, and it feels like it has helped at least a little bit so far, but it takes a while for it to fully kick in. It can take a couple months. But the main side effect of both that and the high blood pressure med that I'm now on, which is something that I knew was inevitable, it was going to happen someday because it's extremely hereditary in my family, especially on my dad's side. The main side effect of those meds is that it can make me really, really sleepy and sometimes lightheaded, no matter how much I sleep. So that kind of saps a lot of my energy after work some days, so it kind of leaves me less energy and less motivated to really do anything aside from come home, eat dinner, lay on the couch, and then go to sleep and whatnot. So yeah, that is, if I sound more tired in some videos or just don't be as consistent in the future. That's probably going to be why, while I still try to get some of that stuff adjusted. But otherwise, Killzone Liberation, playing that is the main goal this week. I will at least get the PS4 version done for sure. Maybe the PS5 version. If not, the PS5 version will be done right at the end of August. But after that, we then just have to find something else to play, because like I said, I don't really know what to do with my life now, because I finished another major game that I was working on for so long and cleaning up for so long, and now I just don't necessarily know what to do next. We will have to figure that out in the future, though. It could be kind of fun to do Red Dead Redemption as a series at some point, but I don't know if I really want to do that anytime soon, just because I really am not supportive of the whole charging $50 for the game. I personally don't agree with that. But with September coming up, the games on the list are potentially including GTA 5, Shadow of the Colossus COD Classic, and Outer Worlds. Those are the only 4 games I have left on my list to clean up, aside from, of course, Killzone. And then just other random games that I have laying around for PS3 and PS4 that I've been mentioning for years now. Otherwise, though, it is expected that Fallout 76, I've talked about this previously, should be getting its next DLC within the next 2 months. And it's going to be in Atlantic City. It's another expedition. It will most likely have trophies, so I'll be going back to that for at least a few weeks. And, of course, there's the likelihood that Resident Evil 4 will get the Separate Ways DLC, though it sounds like it's not going to come out until 2024, so I think we've got some time until that happens. And I'm sure there will be another Minecraft DLC someday, but you never know exactly when. Big props to Nick AR for doing every single Minecraft game. I've done most of them, but I haven't touched Legends or Dungeons yet, and I don't know when I will. So yeah, that is pretty much going to be it for this video, guys. So if you enjoyed it, please give me a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you've been working on. Subscribe, ring the bell if you haven't already and you made it all the way to the end of the video especially. And plans for this week in terms of videos and stuff should be pretty normal. Like, there will be probably 2, maybe 3 streams this week if I want to try to knock out the rest of Killzone. With the South Park video up, the next one is Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I don't know exactly how much effort I'm going to put into... Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know exactly how specially detailed that video is going to be, because it's not a project that I had as much of an interest in while playing initially as something like South Park or Fallout. It should still be a good video, but it might just not be as good as the South Park one. We'll just have to see about that. And after that is Far Cry 6, then Modern Warfare 2 on PS5, and then after those is going to be Killzone Liberation, and then whatever comes next after that. But otherwise, this week should be pretty normal schedule, just a few videos, hopefully, at least 2 streams. And I need to also just start editing a few videos from when me and Lizard Guy were hanging out, because I've got some good content that I want to share from that I think is going to be funny for YouTube, hopefully. So, again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see y'all later this week for some more trophy content.